Great compassion soothes. Thereafter you made vows, praised for purity. Your name guides all. I bow to the kind master. From the sacred realm of Manwutai, I receive Manjushri blessings to heart. I pray to Jigme Funsok. Mind transmission blessings give realization. Profound Dharma, rarely encountered in millennia, but see here, uphold it. Tathagata's meaning. Free sentient beings, please give rise to the unsurpassable bodhicitta. We now continue with the final lesson of the wisdom sword that destroys demons. We didn't recite a Tibetan verse yesterday. The meaning of that should have been explained. Today we will continue our discussion. Because of minor merits, one becomes arrogant and self-satisfied. If pride so often dwells in my heart, then why not, even for a moment, truly see myself as extremely inferior? Because right now we are discussing arrogance. Everyone should very clearly remember what we discussed earlier altogether, where we talked about counteracting greed, counteracting anger, counteracting stinginess, and then counteracting jealousy. Today we discuss how to counteract arrogance. These 5 afflictions are in fact actually commonly known as present in every sentient being. They are everywhere. In this case, our methods of counteracting them should also be all-pervasive. Whenever we notice them, that's when we should eradicate them as soon as possible. This is extremely important. In our daily practice, we rely on the great perfection, Mahamudra, as well as Chan Buddha's key instructions for realizing the mind and seeing the nature to cultivate our practice. These methods are also exceptionally profound. However, here and now, at this very moment, we are using the sword of wisdom to analyze and then simply completely cut off the stems of the 5 afflictions. In this way, all the 84,000 afflictions that are present, all these mental afflictions and disturbances, be severed simultaneously. For each of us, as ordinary people, it may not be so easy at first. But if we try hard, many things can also definitely yield certain results. It's actually the same here as well, because you have perhaps gained some subtle merit in your life. For example, your wealth, reputation, all your learning, including your debating skills. Everyone has their own special strengths, right? Because you have merit in these areas, you become self-important, arrogant, and conceited. You think you are remarkable, no matter if it's the way you speak, the way you walk, or the way you do anything at all. Because someone who harbors arrogance in their mind stream, their entire way of speaking, their overall posture when walking, even their facial expressions, especially when they're communicating with others, are noticeably different, completely different from ordinary people. So if you have such a situation, become arrogant and conceited because of such a minor merit, then in your mind stream, in fact, there are also many faults, including greed, anger, and ignorance. Or perhaps you have a bad temper or a terrible personality, or you are very, very jealous, for instance, and so on. There are many faults in everyone. They are nearly endless. Many faults indeed reside in my own mind. So in this case, why don't you ever look down on yourself, even just a little? I think I am the most ashamed. In reality, I am the worst. Why is that? Because of so many afflictions, so many faults, so many problems. So why is it like this? Because this is observing things theoretically. If you have just a tiny bit of, and you become arrogant because of it, then you should also recognize that there are many faults in your mind stream. So why don't you criticize yourself? It's really like this in our world. Didn't we talk about this before just yesterday? Take Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva or Manjushri Bodhisattva, for example, or if these seem a bit distant to some of us, Think of great masters and eminent monks, or some very gentle, disciplined scholars, or monastics we've met, including among the lay practitioners. There are also many remarkable people. Why do these people keep their qualities hidden and hide them? Their virtues are never displayed outwardly. So for us ordinary people, most of us are like the poor and tend to show off almost as if we are very wealthy. But those who are truly wealthy in reality actually want to keep a much lower profile, concealing their brilliance and not wishing to stand out. Everyone should be aware of this. Just like Sakya Pandita once said,
so much
can't remember, that is to say, are wheat here? It will float on the surface gently, but if you put a precious jewel in water, it will sink down. When it comes to foolish people, with just a tiny bit of merit, they are always eager to confidently show off in front of others. So if we ever become arrogant because of our own merits, since I have many faults, why am I sometimes so unwilling to criticize myself, even when I know I probably should? For us ordinary people like us, if there's even a small fault in someone else, we are quick to point it out. When it comes to major faults in ourselves, we fail to notice them. We can, with ease, spot a tiny louse on someone else's face, but we can't notice faults in ourselves as big as a yak. We simply don't see them. Everyone has problems. So what is said here really makes a lot of sense, especially if you really consider it. If arrogance and defilements are gone, I am superior. But if I am still so full of pride, who could be worse than me? If the arrogance and stains in our mind streams, if all traces of pride are gone, if they are entirely wiped out, then at that time, then I would truly be justified in thinking of myself as the best. If you really must be proud, at least there would be some reason for it. No arrogance remains in your mind stream. To be free of arrogance is actually a great virtue. But in reality, that's not the case. Arrogance brings such great faults, and yet it clearly exists within my own mind stream with just a tiny, insignificant merit. I already can't contain it in my heart any longer. If that's the case, then in this world, who could be more despicable than me? It's truly so pitiful, because if I had no arrogance, no anger, none of that, being arrogant is understandable. Some masters and accomplished, no mindstream afflictions, but in front of others, they were especially humble and gentle. They were never particularly rough or harsh, never like that. So if you truly have none of these afflictions, then even if you wanted to be arrogant, it would be acceptable. I think Master Shantideva also said this, also do not cultivate because of arrogance. Having no arrogance is most suitable. Do not practice with arrogance. If you are free from arrogance, that is the most suitable way to practice. Because when we talk about self-confidence, actually, as people, we really shouldn't be overly ashamed, either thinking you're not good enough. Aren't there some people who often say, "Oh, I'm so ashamed as a disciple. My practice is so utterly pitiful, so very laughable." Actually, you really shouldn't excessively criticize or belittle yourself like this either, as it isn't helpful or fair. The confidence you possess, you need to lift yourself up. Nowadays, in some Buddhists, when you first get to know them, when I talk about spiritual practice, I really feel ashamed. Oh, I am so. All these negative things slowly pile up together, and then you start to feel that you are especially inadequate. Then you begin to criticize and scold yourself. Actually, this might be a bit excessive. Although we have not practiced according to the sutras and treatises, practicing truthfully as taught, and haven't applied the teachings, at the very least, many of us continuously making effort. I see that even though right now there isn't much, no collective organization, nothing at all for individual practice, some people have never interrupted their practice at all. This is a very good thing because individual practice is also permitted. Some people, regardless of what teachings, simply how many classes they've attended, how many practices they've done, when they speak, they seem to feel very ashamed of themselves. But that's not the case. Although we may not be like the great masters of the past who could do ascetic practice in solitary retreat, we don't have that of all the people in the city today. In comparison, we can be considered diligent. This is how I personally see it too. Although we cannot compare to the great masters of the past, and some good practitioners, and indeed, the difference between us and them is quite significant. At the very least, simply within the scope of our own abilities, we haven't been excessively distracted or scattered. We are also doing our best and putting in our utmost effort. So sometimes I think that honestly, we really shouldn't be overly modest, not at all. Being too modest, or sometimes even overly modest, might actually be a bit of a problem. Because these principles, everyone can take a look at them. This is actually a way that demonstrates very strong analytical ability. Here we actually have a kind of approach. If you look at this sentence, everyone should understand, if you are not arrogant, if you remain humble, then you are truly the very best. Not the case. If you have arrogance within you, then you are the worst. This needs analytical thinking. So for many of us, our educational methods when it comes to education are also rather like rote learning or cramming. Whatever the teacher teaches, you simply follow it as instructed. Other than that, you generally don't do much independent thinking or much real thinking on your own. There's also debate and observation, but these aspects are lacking, and that's not very good. Our education should ideally be more open and flexible, and we ourselves should also think from multiple perspectives. Maybe then you would have many reasons, including a very strong sense of logic. For example, the great Indian and Tibetan masters in Buddhist logic and Madhyamaka, their ability in critical thinking is strong. Western philosophers from ancient Greece also possess some critical thinking ability. But nowadays, the entire philosophical system of ancient Greece is not currently being widely promoted anymore, really. So when it comes to our methods of observation, not everything is simply or easily taught through indoctrination. For example, some Dharma teachers set questions, or this problem also exists in some of our current institutes. In order to simply avoid being held back and to keep continuously advancing steadily, the mages gave them the points, consistently awarding them more points. But in this way, when students review in advance, it is also within a fixed scope, questions from limited range. Everyone scores very well. On one hand, this may make them feel quite happy for the time being. This includes the Dharma teachers. Some particularly strict teachers do not like this approach, while those who are more relaxed, they think this is a good person and teach. They see it. So sometimes these monks will often seem to treat the Dharma teacher in the same manner as they would treat a regular teacher. I think this might not be correct. In a school setting, it's true that being a teacher is appropriate, the teacher-student relationship, but in the context of Buddhist causes and conditions, master-disciple relationship, no matter what Dharma teaching is given to you, whether any teaching from the Sutrayana or Tantrayana, you should still always respect them as your own truly valued guru. This does you no harm whatsoever and actually brings you great benefit. Today, people don't resemble the great who earnestly sought the Dharma and showed great respect to their Dharma teachers. Because they received the Dharma, they regarded them and treated them as their gurus. The other day, just recently in our institute, during the award ceremony for the exam, which was recently held, when Venerable Sishi was giving a speech, he mentioned that our Khenpos and Khenmos, if they are simply unable to pass the exam, it would be better to eliminate them. The monks in the audience, Everyone started applauding. The Khenpos sitting in the front seemed rather unhappy because so many people in the audience began to clap. It seemed that but if those combos are eliminated from the system, there was a group of people who agreed with this. At that moment, I thought to myself, the Dharma we are hearing, this is not a worldly debate, nor is it an academic seminar in the secular sense. The relationships that we have in class on a daily basis, Dharma teachers shouldn't be arrogant either. But out of respect for the Dharma, when teaching, one should sit in a high seat on the Dharma throne. And as disciples, it is important for us to always show respect to others in our words and actions, treating everyone with kindness, including myself. Truly, no matter who it is, if someone has the lineage and heard the teachings, I am respectful. So I think our way of education, as it stands in particular, should follow the Buddhist approach to education. It is not like the school education system. Although Buddhist institutes and Buddhist communities do in fact share some notable similarities with the school education system, their differences in our hearts, we still continue to maintain a deep sense of respect and profound reverence. Listening to the Dharma with faith and listening without faith should be different. If you listen to the Dharma without faith, when teacher speaks, you might feel free to offend others, make unhappy, secular doesn't matter. Especially in the Western style of education, it is a truly critical and open style of education. In this environment, it is common to criticize teachers. Phenomena exist. But in Buddhism, one should respect or revere the spiritual teacher. This is very, very important, truly essential. Therefore, when we are sharing and communicating the Dharma to others, everyone should pay attention to this as well.
다금은 디시에 풍부 연 진내 우보 낸전 바 대시를 용던 손자양 더랑아르지 지식 요더
No self, no conditioned aggregate. Even if merits are as vast as the ocean, what is there for me to be arrogant about? So, what exactly is our attachment to the aggregates like? Really, what does that actually mean for us? From a slightly deeper perspective, in the beginning, there is in fact originally no self. Neither personal nor phenomenal self exists. However, in this world, because of the ongoing aggregation of conditioned phenomena, the aggregates of form, feeling, and perception continue arising within us. These aggregates are a collection of conditioned phenomena. Relying on these causes and conditions, we still cling to them as truly existent. There's no I and nothing that belongs to me. Phenomena are non-existent. Yet, within this basic state of no self, we perceive things as they truly exist. Barren woman's son, but because of our attachment, the son of a barren woman has become something existent. It is as if something actually exists in this way. Even if one's merits are vast, as the ocean, in the context of conditioned phenomena specifically, or more precisely, even though I may possess countless merits, as boundless as the great ocean, generally we use the ocean as a metaphor for abundance. The sky is an extensive metaphor, so merits as deep as the ocean are especially numerous. Yet I should not feel, what is there for me to be arrogant about? Why is that? Because I do not truly exist. These conditioned phenomena do not truly exist. As was mentioned earlier yesterday, indeed, if we look at it from a deeper perspective, I don't exist. If I don't, then my degrees, whatever I have, these are fundamentally not even worth discussing. No son of a barren woman, and discussing the merits of the son of a barren woman. Even if I do possess them in my household, then these merits are still nothing significant at all. Mainly the merits of conditioned phenomena, everyone should reflect on this. Impermanent, merits unreliable. Today you may have wealth, but that doesn't guarantee you'll have it in the latter part of your life. Today you may look attractive, but that may not be the case later in life, let alone in your next life. In life you may have power, but as we so often see and hear in the news these days, on television or in the media, there are so many who fall from power. Even those who were once respected, dignified presidents in the world, with a minor incident like making a phone call, or perhaps acting as a supervisor, in an instant either resigned or was impeached, or even end up in prison for a long time, and so on and so forth. So for people like this, rulers of a nation, even they can suddenly meet with such fates, especially sad words. Then for ordinary people like us, it goes without saying. So in this world of conditioned phenomena, we must never become complacent or overly arrogant, even if it's just over a little bit of merit. Some of our Dharma friends might be considered good here. Within the traditions of our institute, indeed, it is true that many people are quite reserved and low-key, and also humble in their demeanor. In front of others, they always, especially those accumulated merit, never show off or boast about it. How am I really? What do I actually see? I have powers, I do, or how much I have. I won't say that. But there are still a few people, how good is my guru? This brand I created is honestly so good, showing off under another name, but this phenomenon does exist. So, as dedicated and experienced practitioners in this important field, as we all know, especially for the ordained, we should be even more mindful. What do all this fame and wealth really mean to you? As Bodhisattva Ashvagosha said, if arrogance arises, if pride and conceit, such as arrogance, begin to arise in your mind when you rub your head with your hand, if arrogance arises, you should touch the top of your own head with your hand. What does this mean? As a monastic, if arrogance arises in your mind, you should feel your own shaved head and ask yourself, on what grounds did you become a monk? You shave your head and each day now wear the simple robes, having given up the 8 worldly concerns. Yet now, as a monastic, gradually you begin to seek out personal fame and material wealth, striving for recognition. If you've even a little bit of merit in your mind, you just can't handle it. This is truly very frightening. Earlier mentioned, especially when we practitioners in particular go out into the community, we still need to observe the stability of our own practice. When you face your teacher in the Buddhist institute or in the monastery, because you are restrained by your environment, you become relatively in accordance with Dharma. But once you truly leave that environment, your practice and mindfulness, whether you can still proceed properly as before in the same way, whether you can do this or not, is also extremely crucial. As I have mentioned before, when obstacles arose here at Changhua Island, I also said at that time that I require the Khenpos and Khenmos, even if there is only 1 or 2 people, they should focus on teaching the Dharma. They should not be going around sightseeing or traveling for fun or participating in being involved with or otherwise engaging in the planning and construction of various other types of buildings. These things may be good deeds. Most important is, for many of us, our identity is not about anything else. It should be about spreading, teaching, expounding the Dharma to sentient beings, and treating it as a duty. When I was at Hongfa Temple in Shenzhen, I met Elder Master Ben Huan, who was exactly 100 years old at the time. Then I said, "You are 100 years old. You should live to 120 years old, just like the Venerable Elder Master Shu Yun." He replied, "You too, you should be like that as well." He said, "Spreading the Dharma and benefiting sentient beings is our household duty." Even as a centenarian, still in his heart, spreading Dharma, helping beings is duty. He regarded this as responsibility, just like a household chore. You see, whether cooking or stir-frying, these are just things we have to do every day. So this includes Khenpos, Khenmos, counselors, and similar roles, and other people as well. Simply, I wonder if, for a moment, we can each take a look at ourselves. And by the end of the year, I will also find out who taught, what kind of classes, what Dharma was heard. First, we really start by carefully understanding this among our own group. The mages slowly began to understand, over time, if conditions aren't enough, I think it's just not possible. Even if there are 2 or 3 people and the conditions aren't right, there probably won't really be anything significant happening there. Even if you haven't organized any activities, at the very least, you should have this kind of opportunity for yourself. Many opportunities can be created, so we shouldn't be arrogant at all. But still, after all, we should do what we are supposed to do. It's best not to let small cause. Then I unfortunately lost some really big jobs. Many people like this because something happened and they stopped practicing. I won't read books. They stop memorizing. No more lectures. They stop everything. A couple of days ago, I met a lay practitioner who perhaps encountered some obstacles, or maybe just happened to hear some interesting rumors or stories from other people. But with many things, as soon as they run into even a small setback, even just a minor obstacle, they start to give up. Even though there were some good plans in place, just hearing a bit of gossip, they start changing a lot of their own plans again. But in this situation, if we encounter issues, we should handle them skillfully and with flexibility. If nothing has happened and we haven't violated any national laws or constitution or wrongdoing, and we haven't broken any of the Buddhist monastic rules too. Bodhisattva, Vajrayana, or liberation vows. If none of these situations apply, but we still tie ourselves up so tightly, even now, I think that's unnecessary. If we do this, there will never be a chance to open up, because we all know the environment of our Saha world. This is the Saha world, a world of conflict. World of conflict. You are looking for a paradise, a land that is very tranquil, pure, and magnificent. It's impossible to find this place. This includes ourselves. It is also amidst various obstacles and struggles, fighting our way through. People are the same way. People in the world also work hard for their own careers. They're always putting in a lot of effort as well. So when it comes to some of the major worldly rules, we cannot go against them for the precepts and can't violate. In such circumstances, some people are extremely frightened, no matter what happens. I see some of our Dharma friends especially fearful, particularly for some. Do you by any chance often go to tell fortunes yourself and seek out fortune telling? This shows these people don't really have much faith. It's okay to have a divination done once in a while, but really, don't do it every single day. Can I just go out for a while today? Will I run into bad people on the road? I ate today. Will I be able to swallow it smoothly? I'm just going out today. Will I encounter other obstacles or adverse conditions and so on and so forth? If that's the case, this person really lacks confidence. At that point, you need to be a little bit arrogant. Sometimes arrogance is necessary. In situations like this, you should observe your own mind.
Gartir nim su yut ge rang gen le ma ver xi xie na de ver tam chou yen de na gen la ki bi xiu lam jiang. When there is arrogance and pride, one's true self is at its lowest. One should be like a gentle and kind horse, respectful to all and upholding dignity. As long as we continue to harbor arrogance, pride, the word etc. includes the above: greed, anger, stinginess, and jealousy. These five afflictions are examples. Greed, anger, ignorance, pride, and doubt. Or these five poisonous afflictions are just a representation. You know what a representative is like: a People's Congress or political consultative conference representative. When we talk about a representative, the main figure comes forward, but behind them there are many other members. Afflictions are the same way. Greed and anger, for example, these are the major representative afflictions. When these afflictions are in your mind, during this period, you should realize you are in a low state. It's not that you should think, I'm just so impressive. Of course, this is certainly different from Western culture. There are still some differences in Western culture, considerably what we consider to be the five poisons, they actually see some of these as desirable qualities. For example, when it comes to greed, they see it as an ambition, considered good. As for anger, they see it as a sign of courage. Having anger is even seen as a good thing. About stinginess, they see it as a mindset for protecting one's own property. This considered good. As for jealousy, they believe we need to compete with each other to have this kind of courage and motivation. For arrogance, they say be confident. It seems like they just slightly changed the wording a bit. In this case, what I mentioned are positive mindsets. Buddhism notes these, but true jealousy, pride, and greed, this can be considered negative emotions. As long as you have these five poisons, these negative emotions, you could be considered a contemptible person, a lowly person, because if you harbor these five poisons within you, they will inevitably bear fruit eventually, right? While you are under five poisons, you should be like a truly well-trained steed. You should always treat others with genuine respect and courtesy at all times. In terms of your demeanor, you should always strive to maintain it properly. Don't act recklessly or do whatever you please, especially right now. That's not acceptable. Many of us may not know a gentle, obedient horse. In fact, it's only after a long period of training and taming that no matter who rides it, whether it's the owner or someone else, there's really no problem riding it. But if it's like a dog, perhaps it only recognizes its owner and not outsiders. But horses, they really are. So people who have ridden horses probably know this. But we often see some curious, excited tourists from different places who frequently visit tourists ride horses. You see someone leading the horse in front and others supporting from the sides. Many of them seem to lack confidence. Actually, these horses have already been well trained. There's really absolutely nothing to worry about. So maybe when we think back and reflect on the moments and experiences from our earlier, cows and horses were vital in daily life. For example, when I was young as a child, I often rode a horse while herding cattle. I also rode a horse to school, slowly crossing many tall mountains and dense forests. Even when buying grain, I would go on horseback. When moving house, I would ride a horse as well. Even during competitions, I rode a horse, including herding cattle. If a cow got lost, I would go after it on horseback. Horses were just like cars are for many people today. Nowadays, people almost always drive by car whenever they go out. Back then, there was nothing like that. So, in many ancient times, including in scriptures and treatises, Mifam Rinpoche, for example, at that time, when he was in Sershul at that particular time, he also probably, in his biographies, there's no mention of him riding a horse. As for His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok, in many photos, he too is seen riding a horse. But once there was a photo of the Dharma King on horseback, everyone watched some. The Dharma King said it was improper. It's best if you don't publish it. It looks as if I'm harming sentient beings by riding a horse. Nowadays, great masters and eminent monks ride white oxen, ride five-horned cattle, ride horses. There are all sorts of situations. But at this time, all right, just a few moments ago, there was a particular point that was mentioned, and I think it's worth taking a closer look at it, which was about being like a gentle, fine, and graceful, noble horse. One should respect others. So for a practitioner, they should respect everyone and look down on no one. Because nowadays in the world, if someone seems to have status or position, everyone treats them well. But if the same person appears to have no current status at all, everyone looks down on them. Actually, this is unreasonable. So from the perspective of Buddhism, it's the same. In the Dirgha Agama Sutra, it says, regardless of whether one is a Shramana, Brahmin, or of another caste, as long as there is arrogance in one's heart, in my teaching, such a person cannot attain supreme enlightenment. So in Buddhism, as everyone knows, On the soaring, lofty mountain of arrogance, the crystal clear water of merit cannot remain. So if someone is arrogant, it's like, as I have compared, before wearing a raincoat, for example. The raindrops outside simply cannot seep through. In the same way, similarly, if a person is arrogant in their mind, they will not respect the Dhamma or their teacher, and they will look down on others. If they also despise sentient beings, then arrogance is actually the greatest fault of all. We often see this person is arrogant and everyone can't accept. One doesn't even know oneself. Some people are very foolish, especially when we compare ourselves to others and find that we are just a little bit better in some way. Within this group, this person becomes particularly smug and self-satisfied, and starts to look down on everyone else. This is really, truly not good. So after seeing these teachings, let's take a look and see this time whether we can change our mindset even a little. When we first analyzed attachment, we really did have strong analytical and logical abilities. When we saw anger, we saw how pitiful sentient beings are. I really shouldn't develop anger toward them. When we talked about stinginess earlier, we realized we should practice generosity and not be attached to our own possessions, bodies, and so on. Then in the last class, we talked about jealousy. And now, as we discuss arrogance, there are many arrogant people. But when it comes to arrogant people, if we look at it from a certain perspective, there really is no reason to be arrogant. They aren't really just that remarkable. Sometimes when we encounter leaders or meet some high-ranking officials or business people, wow, in every single aspect of their speech and the way they walk, in many ways, they are different from ordinary people. Their hearts are filled with arrogance. But when time passes, when they leave, when this person falls from power, this guy's business is starting to collapse. When many things happen at once, at that time, that person doesn't even have a bit of courage left. Then they are also fragile. When people are generally truly thriving, they shouldn't be arrogant. And when people are at a particularly low point, they shouldn't be too discouraged either. Actually, many circumstances and conditions are always changing. What is good now may not last. What is bad isn't always bad. So what appears good on the surface may not actually be good in reality. On the surface, it appears bad, may not actually be bad in reality. Many of these causes and conditions are, as you can imagine, quite complicated and intricate. So everyone should really understand these principles. These teachings in Buddhism are not simply just a matter of faith or religion. More importantly, they are extremely helpful in how we act and handle things. Therefore, I also hope that everyone here today can explain some of these teachings if they can. If you can't explain them yourself, recommend them, so others' minds can undergo transformation. In this way, others will not have to suffer quite so much. It will also be beneficial in their lives. This is extremely important, truly. By observing with certainty in the two truths and through practice, grasping at appearances is thoroughly purified. With this, we have finished analyzing all of the 5 poisons. Next comes a summary and conclusion. How is it stated? As we have just discussed in our earlier conversation, the way this point is articulated is significant. Understanding the 5 methods for counteracting affliction have already been explained. When each one is examined extremely carefully and meticulously, after closely and thoroughly observing within the certainty of the ultimate and conventional truths, one must practice repeatedly. If you practice repeatedly, in the end, all our grasping at appearances will ultimately be completely purified. All attachment to appearances can be purified. In fact, this is very important because we first observe, let's take a look, for example, at, say, desire. Desire what? Is it truly really like in the ultimate sense? Ultimately, it is as unattainable as empty space. Does it exist conventionally? Conventionally, it does exist. There is the object, the feeling, and the one who desires. All 3 of these exist. But if you examine them, They are like a dream, like an illusion, like a rainbow. When you look at the rainbow in the sky, it really is they're colorful and very beautiful. But when you actually try to find it in the real world, you can't grasp it at all. So every one of our afflictions, practitioners feel tormented. Oh, my afflictions are so deep. I really can't even sleep at night now. Can't eat at day. I feel troubled, especially sad, especially miserable, and so on and so forth. We tend to judge ourselves very harshly. But this is all because we lack wisdom. If I truly had wisdom, then each affliction in my mind, when examined carefully with ultimate wisdom, empty space, without extremes, and not even the slightest trace could be found. If we look conventionally, yes, they do exist. The greedy objects of greed and the mind. There are those who are angry, the mind of anger. And in the same way, this applies to all afflictions up to and including pride. The objects, the mind, and the afflicted person all indeed exist. But when you look closely at them, indeed, apart from their dreamlike, ethereal and illusory appearance, you cannot find them at all. This principle isn't grasped in one or two tries. I just need to attend one class today. It's not like that. The deep-seated habitual patterns ingrained in our mind stream, they are not so easily uprooted. You see, even when we take medicine, as you know, keep taking it to control symptoms, to cure the illness. Took Western medicine since the year 2000, and I still take it every day. Sometimes I take 2 pills, and now I still take them. Sometimes 1 pill, sometimes 2. I forget 10 days. I sometimes take it longer, but I've been taking it continuously. It's just like this. When we treat a chronic illness, might take 20 or 25 years of effort. Might not be enough. Keep going. Haven't given up. Because if I gave up, well, it probably wouldn't work out. So it's the same in our worldly life. When it comes to counteracting our own afflictions, we have to keep observing and practicing again and again. If we do this, all these attachments that appear to us, they are just like dreams or illusions. Attachments, greed, anger, arrogance, these attachments can be fully understood without obstacles. In Tibetan, there is, but it also means that they can be completely purified in their structure or composition. If these manifest attachments can be purified, then that is truly quite excellent. Mepam Rinpoche in the Lamp of Certainty also spoke about this. If you do not have these kinds of vulgar attachments, by observing and examining and then developing certain Taiwan's certainty arises, we focus single-pointedly within that certainty. At this point, this is indeed a very excellent form of practice. So for many of us, in particular, right now, we still enjoy listening to the Dharma. This is truly very important. Truly, we must first listen to the teachings. Otherwise, no way to eradicate ignorance in mind streams. But listening isn't enough. We must reflect, use logic to consider them. Then we must wholeheartedly put them into practice. Practice is not just about meditating for 10 minutes a day or just a few minutes and thinking that's enough. It should be done repeatedly. Analytical, resting meditation. In this way, our afflictions can also be eliminated. This is one of the important points which have been thoughtfully summarized here. There is also another summary statement which provides an additional overview. Did I recite the Tibetan earlier? Just now? Yes, I did, right?
东人的样见那么几，知话知比中间的根，马得娘给俺子的这一米会议子的些。
Empty yet dependent on many conditions. The illusory city of samsara, without closely examining the pleasing appearances, we experience them as if they were real illusions. Originally, our samsara is empty. The world is empty. Yet, within the emptiness of all phenomena, relying on causes and conditions like a dream or illusion, the city of samsara begins to take shape. So this illusory city of samsara, when you haven't examined it in detail, seems to be full of all sorts of things, as if everything actually really and truly exists and appears. This is also discussed in our Ornament of the Middle Way. When you haven't examined it, there is only this kind of appearance, or it seems that these appearances truly exist. So this experiencing things as if they were illusions is because samsara has always been like this, appearing within emptiness. Once we understand this principle, we can enjoy things like enjoying an illusion, experiencing them as illusory. This is also acceptable. When we watch movies or TV, everyone understands that there's no real substance behind it, right? But many people still enjoy it. It still serves a certain function. It's the same for practitioners. Ultimately, nothing can be grasped. All is like a dream or illusion. Samsara still exists, indeed. We can't say that samsara has completely disappeared. We can't say that. Just as it is said in the Maharatta Sutra, if one realizes that all phenomena are just like illusions, then that person can manifest 100 billion Buddha bodies. I don't remember the next two lines clearly, but that's basically the meaning. If we realize all phenomena, they are all illusory. But even though they are all illusory, it's still very important. All studied Madhyamaka philosophy, such as the illusory rest in Vajrayana teachings. Thus, the true nature of our samsara, everyone will come to understand. Although in the ultimate sense, it truly cannot be grasped, we still have ignorance, and we have many afflictions. Because of this simple reason, I may not be able to attain the ultimate reality, but I can only experience things as dreamlike and illusory. That's why many practitioners like us in this field, when it comes to samsara and worldly matters in reality, won't be, in general, especially or particularly stubborn or attached. Why is that? Because they know that behind it all, there's really nothing substantial to observe here. But in the world, it's not really like this. This particular persistent anxiety and extremely rigid. They often think, for example, about possible gains and potential losses. If they gain something, wow. Sometimes we see people just to gain a bit of status, racking their brains and desperately trying all sorts of different ways. And then when they get wealth or relationships, they become particularly troubled and anxious in their... But if you truly understand the methods we specifically mentioned earlier for observing the five poisons or some of the principles of Madhyamaka at that point, you'll feel even more at ease with your whole life, and you won't be so tense, even though you still need to eat and live right now at this very moment. And you still need necessities, and you need to sleep at night. It's not as if everything is always, even if just faintly in the light of a dream. We need our current way of living, eating, walking, all necessary. But because you truly understand these important principles, you basically take life more lightly and feel more relaxed. And in this situation, you won't be attached to happiness. You experience in summer, if you feel comfortable in the garden, though it feels pleasant, this too is not ultimately real. When you face adversity and feel pain, you also won't choose suicide or become anxious. You won't. There is a sense of relaxation in your life, and you won't be constantly plagued by intense anxiety. In this regard, I think many people today really do need to learn some Madhyamaka teachings, and in this way, depression might actually be cured quite quickly, such as reciting mantras, or these are very important. But on the other hand, perhaps learning some teachings on emptiness, exposing attachment in this way towards the whole world, you should be like an old person watching children play games, seeing things very clearly. But the old person, because he doesn't share in their joy or sorrow, his own mindset also changes. Generally, he won't be impacted in most situations. So I think for us, no matter what, even if you're very busy, hearing 1-2 lessons a day, studying 1-2 treatises, if you keep learning continuously, it shouldn't be any problem. Key issue is you might not persist. Plus, in this information age, there are many things that attract attention. There is videos and audio content. There are just so many of them. When we open our phones, big data, whatever you like to watch, it'll provide you with that. So every day, it seems you are immersed in illusions you enjoy and start to become addicted. This is a very frightening thing. So sometimes in order to really understand the world and to gain various kinds of personal knowledge. In different areas, it's necessary to watch things, but don't spend too much time on it. Just take your time getting lost in these confusing illusions. Otherwise, your own spiritual practice won't be able to make any progress. The above is a summary of some points from this treatise. Next, we'll talk about this treatise in particular. Why is it specifically referred to as the legendary sword that destroys the hosts of Mara, and what is the reason behind this particular name? What's it destroy? Destroyed the 4 demons, which is mainly related to its central theme. No analysis of structure divisions yet. Otherwise, if we did analyze the structure, it would be quite interesting.
Jahor shirab wopo che ringag marme tsirki na nyanglangi bar sarshepi dribi tsang chakparam zot.
Manjushri's great wisdom, the radiant mantra, the lamp of light, when it appears in the mind, burns away the forest of obstacles. This wisdom of Manjushri Bodhisattva. Here it is used as a metaphor for radiance. This radiance can also be called a mantra of illumination, or also called the light of a bright lamp. In our Heart Sutra, the Prajnaparamita, which is central to Buddhist teachings, it is the great mantra, the mantra of great clarity. It is a sutra. As a sutra, Prajnaparamita, it can be a great and is a great divine mantra. So it is the same here as well. Within the wisdom light of Manjushri Bodhisattva, the teachings that are clearly manifested and revealed are mantra for illumination, and also the radiance of a bright lamp. If this mantra of light and the bright lamp anytime appear in our hearts, when they manifest, then basically all the things mentioned earlier, such as greed, anger, stinginess, jealousy, and arrogance, the dense, thick forest of these obstacles will all be completely burned away and eradicated. Just like the wisdom of Manjushri Bodhisattva, it is still very important to form a connection with it. Last time, when I previously spoke in detail about the Peacock King Sutra for dispelling poison during our discussion, I also mentioned this briefly. At that time, as I recall, it was probably close to 40 years ago now, the introduction to Mount Wutai that particular time as well, during that era. When the Dharma King visited Wutai, we were all thinking about the wisdom light of Manjushri Bodhisattva. In Mount Wutai, there are many such stories and cases, all of which are manifestations of Manjushri Bodhisattva's wisdom. But nowadays, in many books introducing Mount Wutai, these are not included. Most are about how to attract tourists, or how incredibly delicious and flavorful the mushrooms are, all focusing on such topics. So I think that for those who have faith, it is clear that it's not just about seeing the current Pure Land's external magnificence, but more importantly, if we have faith in Manjushri, if you have sincere faith, truly rely on him, the ignorance and darkness in our own mind streams will definitely be dispelled. Therefore, later in this treatise, it also, in fact, cites accounts of connecting with Manjushri Bodhisattva, including both various teachings and cases. The great masters of the past, they also made special efforts to ensure that their actions were effective and meaningful, going above and visit sites. In the end, they attained this wisdom, crucial. So, on one hand, everyone should form positive connections with the sacred sites of Manjushri Bodhisattva, and at the same time frequently recite Om Arapatsanadi, which is Manjushri Bodhisattva's heart mantra. In the past, among the early disciples of our Dharma King, basically everyone made a vow to recite it 100 million times. But later, the Dharma King said if some people couldn't finish reciting so much, they could participate in the Nyingma Manjushri Tsok offering. If done daily, they can be blessed or empowered. Later, many of us participated in these activities. Even if we didn't finish, there was still an opportunity. But in any case, We need to rely on the lamp of Manjushri Bodhisattva wisdom, dispel ignorance within us. I think this time many people if everyone prays to Manjushri Bodhisattva all together, Dharma King, wish fulfilling, jeweled, omniscient, Mipam, are all emanations of Manjushri Bodhisattva noted in prophecies and empowerments by relying on their blessings and support. When karmic conditions converge, you are troubled by greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt. You will certainly, without any doubt, be fully capable. And next, I will discuss the principle of destroying the four maras.
더더른 자고로 화오이 특지 레프트는 시럽지 라트 듣지 제터nga 짜네 당전 요모 듣강더 라리양 멈종장 ngar shong wayi ro tsam yang me pi tsir de yang tak bar so pa tap ki sa pa na dong kim shig bu tsir ji na lai bi de na chom bar nger sa won chog bu ni ge jen tong bu de na ngak she chang shnum zat ba yi mar me jen chib de na chig nger.
This is in Tibetan. For the following Chinese part, how about I explain as I go along? Manjushri, the Lord of courageous wisdom, wields the sword of compassion and wisdom. He cuts through 5 illusions of demons and demons of self-attachment afflictions. After this, they will never arise again, leaving no trace as before. Here, it talks about Manjushri Bodhisattva's courageous wisdom. No empowerment for Dharma King. There are many such Dharma methods. Manjushri's courageous wisdom. It is courage for sentient beings. There is this venerable one whose great compassion transforms into a precious sword, not wisdom transforming to a sword. He, at first, as you know, compassion without attachment. And this great compassion then turns into the sword of wisdom. It's not like how people around the world today manufacturing all kinds of weapons driven by hatred or by attachment. Some are driven by hate to kill enemies. So they start making these weapons. Some people seek greed. I started with some business, some arms, and then motivated by jealousy. Country, nuclear weapons. Why don't I have it here? They have missiles. Why don't I have them out of jealousy? Sometimes arrogance for the sake of national pride or to show off in various ways. So they make warheads and all kinds of weapons. Weapons people have now. There are all sorts of other mindsets involved. But Manjushri Bodhisattva is compassionate to all, seeking to eliminate their ignorance. This is how it is. Then, with this sword of wisdom, cuts 5 illusory demons. The first among them is the demon of afflictions, rooted in self-clinging, demon of afflictions from self-attachment. Among the 4 demons, the first is the demon of afflictions. 5 afflictions explained. If you cut off demons, they will never arise again. There is no such entity, no substance in Tibetan. Affliction, substance is sometimes a bit difficult to express clearly in Chinese. Some people misunderstand. That's why it's said that not even a trace remains. This is what we have examined in the previous few lessons. It should be the substance of afflictions that should be completely cleared away. There should be nothing left. This is the first section. If one eliminates phenomena, it is almost as if you are completely destroying a sturdy tripod, utterly crushing the powerful demon king. Secondly, if we in reality use the previous method of subduing afflictions to subdue them, and if the demon of afflictions among them has already been cut off, it is like a tripod. If one of its legs is broken, the others cannot stand up either yet. A tripod is mutually dependent and interdependent. If one breaks, it ends. The demons of afflictions, aggregates, death, are mutually dependent. If the demon of afflictions, then the other demon kings and the others. The demon king is generally Mara Papian of the heaven of controlling others' emanations. He brings this suffering to others. These celestial demons, much like a destroyed tripod, cease to exist. They have no place to stand. Just as a seed burned cannot sprout, the demon of aggregates is eliminated. Just as a lamp goes out when the oil is exhausted, the Lord of Death demon perishes. Next, if previous demon of afflictions, as well as the celestial demon, are gone, like a seed burned, impossible for a sprout to grow. Similarly, these aggregates, we sentient beings actually have no self. We rely on form, feeling, perception. Aggregates unite. They form aggregate demon obstacle of self-grasping, demon of self-attachment. This aggregate demon can indeed be eliminated. Celestial and affliction demons, our aggregates continue unbroken existing. But this demon is destroyed. If 3 demons are gone, then just like a lamp that goes out when the oil is used up, a lamp burns by oil, so it'll inevitably go out. Likewise, if these 3 demons are gone, final demon gone, no aggregates, no afflictions. If the external demon King Mara also doesn't exist, how could there possibly be death? The demon of death, after all, must have something that is truly and undeniably existent, mustn't it? Something that is the real substance of death. Aggregates. Empty suffering ends. If the 5 aggregates do not exist, how could anything else exist? Therefore, all 4 demons will be eliminated. In the past, when Patrul Rinpoche went, it should be Lautang in the Muya area, there was a charnel ground. He went to the charnel ground, stayed a night, and began his practice. At that time, some non-human beings and spirits came to disturb him. At that time, Patrul Rinpoche began diligently pray to his guru. As he prayed to his guru, all those demonic beings vanished. Also, he gained confidence in Dzogchen's profound meaning about this. He went to carefully report the matter to the respected Khenpo Dorje. Khyentse Yeshi Dorje said, "You have instantly severed the 4 maras. You have defeated the 4 maras." But Rinpoche said that after that, indeed, never felt distress. He said in our lineage, in fact, praying to the Guru and having faith in the Guru, very important. Simply showing respect with body and speech is not enough. Therefore, in our lineage, relying on Guru blessings, faith. As for some sharp facultied individuals, there are also cases of destroying demonic forces. Patrul Rinpoche, through various means, some say he actually relied on a special, almost miraculous power to travel everywhere. Anyone who has been to Mia in Daofu, which is now, as it is known, called Lautang. He had also visited Jiapa Monastery in the past. In 1986, His Holiness visited there. There's a monastery where he stayed one night. We had also seen before Patrul Rinpoche, near the monastery, had composed many teachings. Khenpo Jigme Rinpoche, since we only stayed there one night, and we arrived in the afternoon, saw a monastery afar, that in the forest, they said the cave where Patrul Rinpoche composed treatises was there. At dusk, we asked others, and they said it should be roughly in that location. A cave was there. We were naive. How could it be found in the dead of night? But we started climbing the mountain anyway, climbing and climbing. And after time had passed, dark, saw nothing, area with steep mountains and forests. It seemed to be winter as well, with cliffs everywhere and ice forming, which was very dangerous. We tied our robes to make a rope so we could protect her. She'd pull me, I'd pull him. Sometimes I'd slip, sometimes he'd slip. Later, as we kept walking, it was around midnight, we couldn't find a way and couldn't go up either, nor could we go down. It was very dangerous. We talked, take a break here for now, retry in daylight. We sat under a tree. It was cold. It was winter, so we couldn't sleep. But as it got close to dawn, we finally started to doze off. When we woke up, It was daylight. We're scared. Go down. Because that morning we had set out early, but we never found the cave, so we had to come back. The way back was quite far. When we got there, the Dharma King was gone. Attendants sought us. Back then, there weren't really any cell phones and no way to notify anyone. So at that time, originally wanted to find Patru Rinpoche at a cave near Minyak. We would practice there, maybe to dispel obstacles and make it meaningful. But we spent a cold night and still didn't find the cave. Now, every time I simply pass by that area, I think we never found it then. Although this is now nearly 40 years old, in 1986 it was approaching 40 years, that cave has still never been found yet. But Patru Rinpoche said it was somewhere else in Minyak, also destroyed the four maras through his practice. At that time, Khyentse Rinpoche also praised it. Such a place. So moving on.
Detsev de jir yerungur jomba hwawo sanke namgyang wa tsirgi chibar chibi gyana chular takdan jigme de hyoto ditji yerchin jombir go tamke shirab nangwi lam.
At that time, having conquered the four maras, the heroic lion charges forward, cutting off the flow of samsara, always acting without fear. At this point, having dispelled the four maras, then this practitioner had already become extraordinary, transforming into a great hero like a lion charging forward. Because the lion commands all in all directions, demonstrating its incredible, undeniable majesty as the king among beasts, just like as a practitioner who genuinely observes the afflictions before them, reaches certainty in practice. At such a time, all external maras and obstacles simply have no way to truly take advantage of you. Just like the lion king among wild beasts, no one can really harm it. At this point, one can cut off the cycle of samsara and remain constantly without any fear. You can act freely and at ease. At that time, all the external forces in the world, even these maras in time, can eventually become your protectors standing by your side. I remember that in the past, the Venerable Milarepa said, if you see the mind as empty, seeing mind's nature is empty, then the army of maras instantly becomes your guardian deities. If you recognize the nature of your own mind as empty and quiescent, then all the mighty armies of maras become your protectors. So from that perspective, today practitioners who, whatever happens, nothing can really harm them at all. Why is that? Harm happens if a self is there. If there's no self, then no matter how others try to harm you, it's like shooting an arrow into the sky. There's nothing for it to hit. So once we practice in this way and cut off the continuity of samsara, we can remain fearless and roam freely and at ease in the world. Then all these maras will also dissolve into the Dharma Dhatu, disappearing quietly without a trace, causing no harm. The following is also a summary line. Gateway that destroys great array of maras, path of skillful wisdom's light. This Dharma is the ancient and powerful gateway that destroys the great array of maras, is especially important. If many people enter this gateway, possible to destroy terrifying camps of maras. We fear much. There are ways. This Dharma is a path illuminated by the light of skillful wisdom. Skillful and expedient methods, path of wisdom, radiance. Therefore, during our practice, we should often review it. As I mentioned the other day, please see if everyone can memorize it. Whether I'm translating, speaking, wow, every verse is truly extraordinary. If I were just a bit younger now and still had a bit more time left in life, I might try to find a way. Back when I first became a monk, I was especially motivated and passionate. Back then, any Dharma that was good, I wanted to memorize it, to fully understand it. That's how it was. But now I don't have that motivation anymore. See these 70 verses, memorize them. If that's really not possible, then at least pick a representative one. Memorize verse counter greed in jealousy. And then for arrogance, stinginess, or anger, look at these antidotes, most advantageous, most incisive, the verse that fits you best, and memorize it. Because we have to battle these 5 poisons each day. We are constantly fighting against them. Many practitioners find this very exhausting. We aim to be good practitioners, but then today, as soon as greed arises, it ruins our practice. Anger arises again. Stinginess arises again. Yellows arises again. Arrogance arises again. It feels like we're truly going into battle every day. In school, someone, I won't say his name, otherwise, names I've mentioned before, sometimes end up talked of negatively. People keep passing it. Khenpo from our monastery, I don't think I mentioned his name, but he found out that I had talked about him in class. So that classmate, it seemed like he himself was incredibly brave at heart, but he didn't have the strength. One day he'd get into a fight with this kid. Next, the 4th kid. He was fighting with others every day, and it made him miserable, but he still tried very hard. So our practitioners were actually just like that child. We battle anger, and tomorrow we're fighting greed, still feeling troubled. If we gain some peace instruction, if we recognize the nature of mind at that point, these afflictions are neither helpful nor harmful to you, and feel at ease. Notice practitioners, maybe they become calmer, or they're muddled, or perhaps they've truly reached a certain level in their practice. Their lives are calm. They don't have any especially sensitive or painful states of mind, and it seems like they can let go of anything. Without liberation in future lives, people like this are already very happy in this very life.
양당 그 sarshi bi gevin roan de da 건 de jire namjerne jambo dorje tripjer chi.
May right speech reveal virtue, and may all beings benefit. Having conquered the 4 maras, one becomes Manjushri Vajra. By relying on the right speech mentioned above as previously discussed, the correct words have already revealed the principles discussed earlier, which counteract all kinds of afflictions. May the merit from this virtue be dedicated to all sentient beings. I pray these beings overcome 4 maras, and each one becomes Manjushri Vajra, indestructible by anyone, attaining a state like Manjushri Bodhisattva, and no different from the Vajra masters. When this result is attained, then it becomes truly meaningful for us. Finally, the conclusion of his text is as follows.
Ji thamong lojong gombi nazap de rapse sartag dap jibi che jela mapam number jarwe pribarte kamnyam jenga taja tamchit metok serbu tsar gopa tsatme pe gyamba sobi nyangchir gewa dam jeba wo manga lam.
Mind training, teaching, composed by Mipham Namgyal Gyatso in the Earth Tiger Year. Earth Tiger Year means 1887. Mipham Rinpoche was 32 years old because he was born in 1846. He manifested Parinirvana in 1912. So at that time, he was about 32 years old. 4th day, 10th month. Pure lands in space. Beautiful garden with yellow flowers, adorned with countless ornaments of magnificence. And this is his aspiration for the world. We hope listeners hear Dharma, or see this teaching Dharma, including myself, what His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche taught at that time. Although he didn't teach extensively in the classroom at that time, it seems it was around the year 2000 or perhaps 1999. We compiled it in 2000. Several people compiled it. I translated. It's already been 25 years since then. So before that, yes, the Guru's Heart Essences. In 1999, in 2001, Guru's Heart Essence. Anyway, Dharma King taught 25 years ago. We still feel a deep connection to this Dharma. At that time, the Dharma King should have already 2001, 2002, and 2004. The Dharma King was also in his 60s. If he was 71, talk about this time. Take a look. Dharma King explained each verse. It seems the latter part wasn't fully explained, but the earlier sections were mostly explained. Now we've included them in Mipham Rinpoche's. It should probably be the 85th book within Mipham Rinpoche's miscellaneous teachings. Teaching those lacking faith don't feel much, but if you do have faith, some of the Dharma King's Vajra words, when compared to our lives today, are really quite truly fascinating. Reading them, I feel, wow, that's how it was taught back then. The Dharma King valued this Dharma. We received Dharma teaching. I want to translate it, but it wasn't until 25 years later that it was officially translated. Causes are inconceivable. At the very beginning, I thought this Dharma teaching was really wonderful. When Dharma King taught, when teaching Longshan Rabjam's miscellaneous instructions, there were many things in it. There was one piece in particular that inspired renunciation. I wanted to translate it. So this time, it has finally been fully translated as well. Mipham Rinpoche actually wrote it when he was 32 years old. His dedication describes Pure Land like a yellow garden. Yellow flowers. I saw dandelions, the yellow Tibetan flowers. Some are white. I'm researching and preparing tea and medicine with them. I wonder, the yellow flowers Mipham Rinpoche mentioned here, could they be dandelions? I'm not sure. He describes yellow flowers, beautiful garden, with countless magnificent decorations, with auspicious signs in sync. May all be auspicious. Translated at the Palace of the Mighty Guru Rinpoche by the Peacock, Poison Eliminating Forest by the Riverside, October 6th, 2024. All right, this Dharma teaching is now complete. I especially want to thank many of you for earnestly completing this Dharma teaching. Sharing Dharma, perhaps it will benefit many people. That's certainly good.
Bandara Bandara